that can be like a nice entree for that, which is basically what they do now, which is a CTO here in Tenderly.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I haven't been coding for the last like 8 months. I think now
Oh,
I kind of miss it. Yeah, I mean I do code at night at home. Because I still find it like a meditative state, more or less. I know this sounds really strange, maybe
I
to
mean,
someone.
some people like to do like Sudokus and
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I find it really interesting and kind of comforting. But basically, I'm a CTO here, and so running the team that's doing all of the engineering work on Tenderly. And like a really, really brief intro, what Tenderly is, we say that we're an end-to-end developer platform for people building on top of Ethereum.
Mhm.
So the usual blockchain pitch of when people are digging, we pass the shovels, but we basically do a bunch of tooling and services that help people basically bring blockchain forward to the masses.
Hmm. And you guys offer like a unique service where like you're able to test transactions
Yeah.
on net without actually having to spend the like Ethereum for the.
Yeah, so that's like one of the most used features. One is the debugger, where you can just see what the transaction is doing
Mhm.
while coding, and then the second one, most used one, is what you're mentioning is the simulator. Basically, you can test things out without submitting them on chain,
Mhm.
which I mean saves money, and also you don't have to risk what will happen. You can actually see what will happen. So there's like a bunch of interesting things people have been doing with that.
Mhm. So it was like distributed computing. Was this kind of like your foray into like the blockchain space, into the crypto space?
No, it was actually much more interesting. So there's two parts to the story. My initial for the first time I heard about it was that was first or second year of high school. I'm not sure. There was a conference here,
Hmm.
and the whole conference was around. It was when SOPA PIPA ACTA were happening, if you remember, around internet censorship and similar things. Um, so there was a conference here called Share Conference, which was happening. So the speakers were Peter Sunde, for example, who was one of the founders of Pirate Bay, George Hotz, who is one of the people or the person who hacked the first iPhone and
Hmm.
the PlayStation 3, and similar like-minded people, hackers, and similar things. So one of the talks, and me and my friend from high school were just trying to kill time between two presentations, and there was a presentation around Bitcoin,
Hmm.
and there was like from 500 attendees, that particular workshop or presentation had like 15. And I
Hmm.
remember being bored to death on the presentation. And in the end of it, everybody got, because at the end they like announced the first Serbian exchange or something similar to it. I don't remember correctly. It's a bit hazy. But basically they gave out Bitcoin to everyone in the crowd, which
Oh
they
wow!
gave. Yeah, they gave out 20 Bitcoin to everyone that was in the crowd,
Holy shit!
which was no money at all. So
20
and
Bitcoin now, that would
yeah,
be.
I know. Don't calculate, please. Yeah. Anywho, so I mean, they were actually giving it out by printing out private keys on a piece of paper and giving out the pieces of paper. I mean,
Mhm.
that's how unsafe everything was. And I remember, I mean, bringing the paper home and losing it basically because I saw no value in it at all.
Uh-huh.
I mean, later on, I would find out that
Oof.
I'm retarded.
Heavy oof.
No, but yeah, it's one of those, and that's how I discovered stoicism. But basically, no, but basically, after fast forward a bunch of years later, it was 2017 or 18. One of my friends and one of the co-founders here, he was into blockchain. I think in 2016 for the tech, and then 2017 for the crypto side as well.
Hmm.
Um, and he was trying to persuade us to have a career in blockchain,
Hmm.
and we were constantly telling him that it will never work, and then it doesn't make any sense. And there was actually a hackathon here in Serbia, in Novi Sad, where it was a blockchain hackathon, and we said if we go there and win the hackathon without any prior knowledge to how blockchain works,
It's just
blockchain makes
proof of
yeah just
concept that this is bullshit.
yeah, yeah. So we actually went there and won. That's actually how when the Tenderly name came to existence. But basically, we won. But mid hackathon, because it was a 48-hour hackathon, the first night we went out for a beer, and I remember 4 or 5 beers in,
Uh-huh.
something similar, which isn't great to get drunk during the hackathon, but it was the case. I remember he was explaining proof of work and mining, and I said almost drunk or drunk, You want to tell me everybody does everything again? And he said yes. And I was like, well, and that's the first time the technology kind of clicked in my head.
Uh-huh.
And from that point on, we kind of got hooked. I mean, it's a really interesting drug, blockchain, the more deeply you get. So I'm guessing he won the argument, as we're a 21-person team right now building blockchain tech. So he kind of won that argument, definitely. So that was kind of our entrance into the space.
So what do you think kind of puts blockchain over a lot of like legacy tech in terms of I guess what you have like with distributed computing?
Well, it's interesting. First of all, I'm not one of those people that think that every